Hello there, my friends. I'm back once again with another 4K Blu-ray review for you, and this one is very special indeed because it's considered one of the greatest world cinema films of all time. It's one of my favourites. It is The Seventh Seal. This is the release from BFI here in the United Kingdom, and this is the first 4K release it's had on disc anywhere in the world, I believe. So this is a world first. And being 4K, it is region free, so no matter where you are in the world, you will be able to play this on your 4K Blu-ray player. So I have quite a lot of things to say about this. It has me very excited. So I'm going to get into what I think about the film itself, then the picture quality of this disc and the audio, and then a quick look at the special features before rounding it up and giving you my conclusion. If during this review you decide that you want to actually buy this and join me in owning it, you can purchase it through the links that I'll be providing in the description down below, and if you do so, it helps support the channel at no additional cost to you. And on that note, if you like these kind of videos, 4K reviews, talking about world cinema and the Criterion collection, then please do subscribe to the channel for more videos because I'm going to be making lots more of them soon. Anyway, let's get talking about The Seventh Seal. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to talk a bit about the film itself first. It is one of the most famous films of all time. You've probably seen it referenced in The Simpsons before and many other things. It's very famous because the main character plays chess against death himself. And that's iconic, in its own right. But the filmmaking from Ingmar Bergman is exemplary and has gone on to inspire so many filmmakers that it would be hard to list them all here, so I'm not even going to try. The story follows this knight and his squire during the medieval times. They've just come back from the Crusades and they've come back to their home country only to discover that the plague is sweeping across the country and, killing lots and lots of people, basically. This disease is making them come to terms with life itself and what is the meaning of life. So it does get very philosophical, and I think that is why it has remained so relevant today. Not to mention that the background of this film is a disease that plagues the whole world. This makes the film probably more relevant than it has ever been, and I got so much out of this latest rewatch. So honestly, I would recommend it to anyone. I know it can be a bit of a hurdle for some people who aren't familiar with watching world cinema films or even black and white films, but if you can get past those hurdles in your head, it is so rewarding, and it is a film that will probably stick with you for a very long time. I could go on more about this film and what it means to me, and I could break down all of the meaning packed in this film, but I will save that for another time because really this is about the 4K disc and whether it is worth purchasing by yourself. So let's talk a bit about the packaging. So you get it in this slip cover from the BFI, just a simple slip cover. It does have, of course, the UK ratings logos on the front and the back, and even on the spine. Even though they don't have to put it on the spine, they still choose to put the logos on the spine. So if anyone from the BFI watches this, you don't have to do that. So that's just a little quip. I know some collectors really care about that. I'm not actually too particular about it anymore, but I know some people are, so it's worth bringing up. Inside the case, there is a booklet and the two discs. There is the 4K disc and the standard Blu-ray disc, which has special features on as well. The booklet is not very substantial. It's quite a thin booklet with mostly production credits in the back of it and some brief writing. I believe this artwork is the original theatrical poster, but I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. But that is what you get inside the packaging. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the 4K picture quality. This disc uses a 4K restoration from the Swedish Film Institute as its source for this. Now this is the same source used on the Criterion Blu-ray that is featured in the Ingmar Bergman Cinema box set. So note that is not the original Blu-ray of The Seventh Seal that you can buy separately from Criterion. It's only the one that is in the big honking box set with all of, or most of, Bergman's films in there. So the actual image, how does it look and how does it compare to previous releases? Because I guess this is what you really want to know most of all. I can honestly say this is the best the film has ever looked, and quite remarkable when comparing it to those older Blu-rays. Compared to the disc from the Bergman cinema box set, it isn't quite as big of an upgrade, but it is still definitely noticeable when you compare the two, which I have done. Now, I don't have my own screen captures from comparing these images because I don't have the capacity to do that at the moment, but from looking on Capsaholic, which you can go and do yourself if you'll like, they have some comparisons between this 4K Blu-ray and the original Criterion Blu-ray release of The Seventh Seal, and it really is night and day. You get so much more detail packed into this 4K disc. The grain actually doesn't look as heavy in this one because in the previous release, that was from a 2K restoration, I believe, and the contrast seemed rather boosted on that old transfer, so it's much cleaner in this one. The grain is definitely noticeable. I mean, it's a film from 1957, so it's going to be there, obviously, and if you're a real film fan, you don't care about film grain at all. You know, you're absolutely fine with it. So the film looks the best it has ever looked, is what I'm basically trying to say. The use of HDR on this disc is not going to blow you away because it's a black and white film, and there's only so much you can do with that because you're not accessing a full range of colours, but you are accessing the monochromatic range between black and white, and there's a lot more detail present because of the HDR grade. The highlights in particular look great, and in the blacks and the darker portions of the screen you do get a lot more detail, because on that older 2K restoration in particular, there was a lot of crushed detail where you just basically didn't see as much in the image. It's worth noting as well that this 4K disc is authored by Fidelity in Motion. They are basically the best at authoring and encoding discs. Honestly, they never put a foot wrong. So David over at Fidelity in Motion always does a great job, and this disc is no different, and you see that on screen. So if we're talking picture quality alone, this is an absolutely essential disc for any fans of The Seventh Seal and Bergman and just world cinema in general. I think anyone who's a fan of the Criterion collection should have this one on their radar if they are able to view 4K discs. Moving on to the audio, there isn't really much to say about this. It's a mono LPCM track. It's a very old film, so there isn't much that you can do about the audio in terms of making it better. The audio tracks on previous releases have been great. This one sounds great as well. So no qualms with the audio, but again, it's not going to blow your system away. The last things that I want to talk about are the special features in this package. Now, it isn't absolutely filled to the brim, but what is there is definitely worthwhile. You get one of Bergman's short films, Karin's Face. You get a behind-the-scenes footage from the film with audio commentary over the top. But the most important thing, and the thing that I took most from this release and just was such an enjoyable listen, was the audio commentary over the film from Kat Ellinger. Now, if you're not familiar with Kat, she has done so many commentaries on Blu-rays. I'm sure you've probably seen her name mentioned at least on the packaging of a film in your collection. I genuinely believe that Kat is the best in the game at doing film commentaries. She always provides such insight and knowledge about the film that she's talking about, while keeping it very, easy to engage with, very relatable. She is not one of those film snobs, those real stuffy people that just make it a bit too academic and you feel like you're back at school listening to something that you don't really want to listen to. So she is not that at all. She's very good at doing film commentaries, basically. I won't spoil her commentary, but she talks about this film in terms of folk horror. She talks about the comedic elements of this film, and she mentions her love of Bergman and Fellini, actually, because this film has some elements that are very reminiscent of one of Fellini's films. So I found all of that stuff fascinating. So if you're on the fence about this release, the commentary is something that should definitely, get you over that fence. So to conclude, I think that this 4K release of The Seventh Seal from BFI is absolutely essential, particularly if you would be upgrading from an older DVD or one of the earlier Blu-rays. I just think This film is so important. It's such a timeless film. Like I mentioned, it's prescient even to today with all that's gone on in the last year or two. And it is a beautiful film as well. Very good to look at. And those special features are, just a great addition to this package. I think this is going to be one of my favorite 4K releases of this year. So definitely consider picking this up. And again, there are links down below in the comments section if you want to purchase this and support the channel. Thank you very much for watching this video of mine. I hope you've enjoyed this 4K review and found it helpful. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and drop a like on the video, because that really helps me in growing this channel and getting these reviews out to more people. Anyway, I will be back very soon, so in the meantime, stay well and keep watching great films.